Hi, my name is Damon Brown of DamonBrown.net. My thing is helping you as a side hustler, as a solopreneur, otherwise a non-traditional entrepreneur. Today we're talking about public speaking, specifically 3 ways that you can make your public speaking better, particularly as we're talking right now, as you're sheltering in place, or as things have changed in a post-pandemic world. I'm talking from you to you in 2021. We're still under shelter in place. There's a lot of stuff that changed though in late 2019 and especially in 2020, where us, people who are professional public speakers, people who are used to being on the road, any type of person who's used to glad handling or being on stage or what have you, we're suddenly trying to find new ways to do what we're supposed to do. 3 big ways that you can actually improve. These things will actually help you after sheltering in place is done. If you're a professional public speaker and that your website is the equivalent of the hand sale. Now the hand sale is if you're a public speaker or if you're a sales person, whatever, you do a presentation, you do a keynote, you do a conversation. I've done 4 different TED Talks. You're doing a TED Talk or what have you. Depending on the situation, you have something called back of the room sales. People just abbreviate it to back of the room. What that means is that as you're on stage or after you're off stage, people can go in the back of the room and buy your product. That could be back in the day, that might be a tape or a CD program. Today it might be digital goods that you get a code for and they pay for it in the back, or it could be physical books. Like I have my new book as of right now, Built From Now, How to Know Your Power, See Your Abundance, and Nourish the World. And so if we were doing traditional keynotes, I would be on the road right now. I wouldn't even be speaking to you. I'd be like going to New York, going to Vancouver up for TED. I'd be all over the place. And then as I do my talk, then the person that represents me, or maybe myself if I'm on my own, then that's where the back of the room sales would happen. That's where a lot of our income comes from. I have my own book imprint called Bring Your Worth, named after my book from a few years ago. And so I'm completely independent. Ultimate Bite-Sized Entrepreneur, you see behind me, the Built From Now, the new book, and the book that my imprint is named after, Bring Your Worth. They're all from me. And so that ends up being a big way of how we make a profit. Particularly when you're independent, you have a higher margin because you can get the product cheaper because of course you're printing it yourself. That's all gone now. We hear a lot of that with the music industry. Then they give you what's called an advance. When they give you an advance, that's actually a loan that you have to give back to them based on the amount that you sell. You don't make any other money until you get that advance. Books are very similar, but with music, it's particularly intense. And so you get that advance, and then you might not make any type of money as far as checks for 3-4 years. Some people never earn out their advance. So that $5,000, $50,000, or $5,000, or whatever you signed for, that might be all the money you get, and you're still putting out albums. So the way that you make money is you go on the road. You sell the merch. This is my Built From Now merch. You can get it at DamonBrown.net. You can also go and buy concert tickets, which will be the equivalent of me going and doing a keynote and someone sponsoring or paying for me to speak to the audience or the audience paying. That's gone now. So all that to say, your main thing right now is your hand sale. Your hand sale happens on your website. Now I was just coaching someone the other day, and a young person, and they said, do I need a website anymore? And I said, hell yes. Are you kidding? Yes. This is why. 2 quick reasons. The first reason is that if you depend on social media, then anytime Twitter, Facebook, which is hot right now, whatever the case may be, whenever they decide to change their algorithm, you might not be able to reach those same people. If they shut down for that day, which has happened to all the major services at one period of time or another, once that happens, you can't access your audience anymore. If they change their policy, suddenly your audience disappears. So if you have a major sale, I just did my book launch for Built From Now, I won't be able to reach my folks. So that's number 1. You need a website because your website's not going to go down. Number 2, you have access to the people that you want to reach. If you go to my website at DamonBrown.net, my whole store is on there. So you can get Built From Now, never get the side right, Built From Now, as well as my previous bestseller, Ultimate Bite-Sized Entrepreneur, and the aforementioned Bring Your Worth. They're all available on my website. So it's available on Amazon, it's available on Barnes & Noble, it's available on all these platforms. Audible, if you want to listen to it, that's great. But if someone wants to buy my product directly from me, they can do that. I can ship them a signed copy. I can also get the goods, again, like the Built From Now t-shirt or the Bring Your Worth mug, again, based on my imprint and my previous book. And so I can always access them, and they can always access me. And in fact, when I did the book launch recently, a good chunk of the sales actually came directly from my website. So people skipped Amazon. No disrespect to Amazon, but they skipped Amazon. They came straight to me. I was able to ship them a signed copy or give them a special discount. I had a pre-order campaign going. They got a special gift if they bought it from me. That's the hand selling. People get to know you now, not by a handshake, but by your presence. The website is part of that presence. Us going to concerts and you getting to know the artists that way, that's dead for right now. Me doing keynotes all around the country, sometimes around the world. I had some major stuff planned for that year, the previous year, and for this book for the upcoming year. But I have to improvise. And the closest thing that we can get to a particular hand sale, the back of the room sales, is by having a website. So number one, if you're going to succeed at public speaking now and into the future, because people are going to get used to this, you need to have a presence online. I don't mean social media, I mean a website. And people are getting to know you through the website. Again, if you go to damonbrown.net, you can get to know me. You can watch my TED Talks, you can buy my products, you listen to all the podcasts I'm on, including the new interviews based on Build From Now, etc. That is a one-stop shop. That would usually be in the back of the room. But we don't have back of the room anymore. Now we have, I guess you call it a virtual back of the room. If you're going to succeed as a public speaker in a post-pandemic world, which is what we're entering into, and hopefully we'll be back on the road in some format or fashion safely, you will be annotating your own keynotes. So you will actually be chatting with the people while you're doing the talk. Let me break that down. I did a talk for Bedroom Candy, a major business that deals with intimacy and helping people get closer to each other as couples or whatever the case may be. You can look up at bedroomcandy.com. It was great, had a really good time. We had tech issues, or they had tech issues, or they are afraid of having tech issues, I should put it like that, which I thought was really smart. We were just starting to shelter in place. And they're like, you know what, there's a big keynote, let's record it ahead of time. It'll be live, but let's record it ahead of time, and then when it's time for you to get on stage, we'll make sure all the stuff is ready and we'll run it. They ran it. And what blew my mind, which was new, I don't know if you've experienced this before, I was watching myself speak to the audience, because virtual audience, because I was sheltering in place, right here actually, right where I'm sitting. Cool, that part's normal. I'm used to doing one-on-one coaching and all that stuff. If you know my work, then you know, if you coach with me, you know this background, because you know it's coaching time, right? So this is natural for me. What was unusual is that the keynote's going, and I'm watching the crowd. Because they had the chats going, it's like 1,000 to 2,000 people there. So it's like 4 figures of people there, which is decent. And they're chatting. And I'm mentioning Maya Angelou, who opens Build From Now. So I mentioned Maya Angelou, an ink column that I wrote. And I'm realizing I can actually annotate. I can't even say it. Annotate, that's the word. I can actually annotate what I do. I annotate all my books. I don't know why I can't say the word. Annotate what I'm doing. And so then I was able to break it down. So I end up quoting Ava DuVernay, who's a major African-American filmmaker. I'm a huge fan of hers, definitely in the fanboy category. Amazing movies. Watch any of them. You'll be impressed, as well as the richness that she portrays our culture in, as far as being African-American. Quote one of her speeches. And then people were kind of going gaga, really excited about it. So then I did a really quick search while I'm watching my keynote, watching people talk, found the original video or the article that quoted her, and then threw it into the chat. And they loved it. And so you have to find, or will find, new ways to interact with the audience. Remember, if you're a keynote speaker or you're a public speaker, even if you're a salesperson, I keep bringing that up because in some ways salespeople are public speakers too, because they're doing a service by advertising a certain good or marketing a certain good, whatever term you want to use, for the betterment of their client, and they're showing it in the best light. We're used to doing it in person, particularly of my age group. I'm young Gen X, older Gen Y. So we're kind of that age group where we're still used to glad handling, doing the hand sales and all that. For the millennials and younger folks, this might be normal for them. It is not necessarily normal for us who are a little bit more seasoned, particularly if you already established your career before, obviously, the pandemic hit. So you have to find other ways to engage with the audience. That worked for me, and they loved it, and it was great, and I enjoyed it. And so I was able to watch my own talk. I was able to stand in the proverbial crowd, watching them watch my talk, number two. And then I was also able to give them added value, able to give them hugs, a handshake, a pound, have a drink with them. You're not going to be able to do that. There's not going to be a happy hour for a little while. That's just the way it is. And once we do get back on track post-pandemic and we're back on the road, which I really look forward to because I'm eager to travel and connect with people, this component will still be here. So that's why it's important to break it down and say, how am I going to show up? Because this digital, virtual, offsite component, whatever you want to call it, we're still working on the terms for it, it's not going to go away. In fact, there might be cost-cutting measures where people are like, well, we could do it in person while we do it virtual, because Zoom and all these other tools are popping up, and it's not like they're going to disappear when we get back on the road and when we don't have shelter in place anymore. The day that Build From Now, got it the right side this time, the day that Build From Now came out, I got on the proverbial stage and spoke to my folks on Amazon Live, as well as on YouTube Live and LinkedIn Live, particularly Amazon Live, talking about the book. And I read an excerpt from the book. You can check it out on my YouTube channel at youtube.com/BrownDamon or over on Amazon Live at amazon.com/shop/BrownDamon. And that's my Amazon shop. Anyway, if you go to my Amazon shop and you were watching it live, or even if you watch it now, watch the replay, then as I'm talking about Build From Now, the book, can't find it, the book appears as a link on the side. And so I'm talking about Build From Now. I'm reading from Build From Now. And if you're captivated by my live reading of it on that day, on launch day, you can literally click it, and assuming you're an Amazon customer, you can buy it right there. Buy the audiobook, buy the paperback, have it shipped to you the next day if you're Prime, or buy the Kindle version. Just like that. That's going to become the norm. That's replacing the back of the room sales as well. This is our stage. You talking to me through a box and vice versa. If you want more insight into how to maximize your resources, come over to buildfromnowquiz.com, buildfromnowquiz.com. It's based on my new book, Build From Now, How to Know Your Power, See Your Abundance, and Nourish the World. It's actually a free quiz. It takes 2 minutes. It's multiple choice, 3 or 4 questions. Hundreds of y'all have taken it, even more since the book came out, which I so appreciate. It will give you insight into how to maximize resources you currently have. You don't need to fix yourself. You need to maximize the resources that you got. Until next time, remember to always bring your worth and that you can always build from now. Take care.